Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. Just want to thank you all for being here. My name is Jared Blake. I'm the VP of Partner Management here at Vodia. For future reference, you can consider me a sort of liaison between you and Vodia for anything that you need. Of course, I certainly encourage you to contact Lucian and his team at ICTGlobe first. But my job here at Vodia is to make sure that everyone at ICTGlobe and all their partners and resellers are supported in any way that they need when selling the Vodia products and services. I'll let the others introduce themselves when it's their time. But in short, on the Vodia side, we have Hamlet Collado, one of our PBX engineers. And we also have Kyle Asbury, the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Vodia. So I want to welcome you to this training on the MS Teams integration that we've built. Hamlet will be guiding you through that and a few other things. I know he has prepared well, and I'd like to encourage you all to ask any questions by posting those in the chat window to the right. Typically, Hamlet will run through the training presentation and scroll through the questions at the end. So if you do ask something, I please that you be patient. I please ask that you be patient as he addresses them one by one after the presentation. One more housekeeping note that I'd like to share is that each month we do have a speed training on a particular topic. It's something that's short and sweet, but the idea is to give a quick overview on a particular feature that might give our resellers more tools and ammunition for their sales and operations when working with their customers. So I certainly encourage you to sign up for these trainings. And additionally, please let us know if there are any topics that you would like to go over in future trainings. We do have a good amount of tutorial videos on our YouTube page, but we are also pretty aware that in the software world, things, they're constantly being updated, and some of that information can be outdated quite quickly. So I'll make sure to send everyone an email after this training with all the links to all this stuff and any other pertinent information that comes up during the training. And by the way, we do have a follow-up to this training from today, and that's going to be scheduled at the same time in 2 weeks on September 8th. Again, I'll send that link out to you guys after this webinar. So at this point, I would like to invite Lucian at ICTGlobe to jump on stage here, and I will hand things off to him.
Everybody, hope you guys all doing well. I see we've got quite a good attendance record. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. I'm quite excited about this session because it's been a long time coming. I'm hoping that from ICTGlobe side, this is going to add value and give you guys some good tools around Teams and also Vodia as a PBX or soft switch entity, and how we can add some, profit values back into your business models and make it easy for you guys to actually penetrate the market using the Teams collaboration keys that the Vodia team will actually give over to us. So I'd like to just quickly go through ICTGlobe. I know we've got probably a few resellers that have engaged us over this period. We've actually sent out an open invitation. I'm just going to quickly run through ICTGlobe, who we are, and then kind of where we fit into the picture. So ICTGlobe is a tier 1 infrastructure company. We've been in the industry for just about 20 years. Obviously, always looking for innovation and ways where we can change solution patterns and offer more solution methodologies to our reseller base. One of these methods we'd like to use is the Teams integration with Vodia. But with that, we're actually using ICTGlobe's infrastructural network. And I just want to share, if you guys can just tell me if you can share my screen, if you can see my screen. Jared, you can give me a heads up. Cool. So you guys can see my screen. Great stuff. Thanks, Rochelle. Appreciate that. Cool. Let me just get this. Cool. So as ICTGlobe, we are a tier 1 provider, and we were founded in 2000. We are industry professionals around network, hosting, and then also predominantly around the voice entity. Everything we do has a geared base into making solutions more easy, viable, and then offering that back into our channel base through sound and credible voice products, hereby enabling us to offer that to you at a low price point and also give you the guarantees and the stability that you wouldn't find elsewhere. We kind of set ourselves apart by looking at things that are going against the grain. setting the trend around new things and innovation. One of those things is we own our own data center. And by going down that road of owning our own data center, we can actually manage and offer you hosting environments, right? And one of those is actually putting Vodia within our data center, which is a massive thing for us. Hereby giving us the power to localize everything through our IPT transit network. Other than our data center in Centurion, we also have the presence in Isando. We have presence in Riverhorse, which is Durban, and then in Cape Town, Great Westerford. And then from that, you can obviously see that we have a good geo presence. We have put enough redundancy in our network. I just want to quickly share this with you. So if you're looking at the map, you can see that our coverage point is at all four major hubs within the SA environment, hereby giving us the capability to enforce and offer you redundancy and more sound solutions. I don't know if most of you guys have seen this, but this is pretty much our network overview. It gives you a construct based on our redundancy. As you can see, this is our data center. Port 1 is the soft switch environment that we use, where the billing and the voice actually runs through. We've got backbones going into Isando, redundancy Cape Town and Durban, and then you can see back and forth. How effective this makes you is that because you're using ICTGlobe's infrastructure, you have the guarantee of uptime, security, and then geo-presence where the Tarako interconnects are situated. And as you can see, we have a large group of peering partners, which extends our network. We also have a peering base within the UK, which also allows us to pass traffic through there. If you needed to see this in a customer view, this is what it would look like. So as you can see, this is where Porter sits. This is the client's environment, and by using the devices that we use on-premise, which is Microtech, to allow us to create VPNs into our network, we try and formulate redundancies around where you connect and how you connect. And also, obviously, if you're doing it layer 2 with us, it means it's our IPs, and we can route that at our discretion and manage that internally as well. Obviously, with a layer 2 network, you have more control because it's our IPs, and we can actually offer you more management within a layer 3 tiering environment. The solutions we offer extend much bigger than just out of voice. Our comprehensive data center solutions include the transformation and systems management, including dedicated and virtual hosting, co-location services, and in building security in an energy efficient infrastructure environment. Our data center literally has these line items, and again, if you're needing to have more information, you can engage us. My last slide will have the information that we have. So hosting, co-location, virtual server hosting, anything that literally revolves around hosting, we can offer. And we pride ourselves in the fact that if no one else can give you a solution, we will create the solution and make sure that that solution is supported with a good SLA in play based on the terms and conditions that your client is looking for. Right. Obviously, with the big push to cloud, COVID, and everyone working from home, we are obviously looking at a more sound and economical way of doing the cloud-based infrastructure as a service. And you might have seen all the launches we've done is revolving around that. We've got full disaster recovery, road mapping, continuity around planning and implementation. We have a holistic approach around our data center. We're always looking at evolving it. We operate under the guidance of a high availability environment, which means that our data center will need and will stay operational based on the construct that we have actually built it upon. Everything that we do within the data center is to ensure that we can improve and be more efficient around the offerings that we actually get. So we're always going to evolve. There's never going to be a stagnant approach or a one-dimensional approach. And I think you guys have seen that in the last day or two, just by the products that we are launching and the offerings that we're putting out there. We're obviously looking at, leveraging our proprietary tools, which is a big thing for us by owning our data center. It gives us the power to enforce methodologies and also implement them, to improve them, and to create reliability at the end of it. So you're not at the mercy or you're subjective to someone else. And this obviously gives us the sense of a guarantee that we can put back into yourself as the reseller that's having to sell it back to the client. If you needed to contact us, this would be the forms that you'd use. I know some of you guys would be au fait with this. You've been introduced to this structure. It's something that we pride ourselves in, and we call it the high performance teams. It's literally teams that are set aside to guide you, help you, and to facilitate your needs and requests within the channel base. The teams literally are set up so that they could, at the shortest time and at the most efficient method, assist you in whatever request you would have. Obviously, if you can't get hold of them, we have a default environment that you can call. Our support operates 24/7, and that's literally technical support that offers 24/7 support, 365. We have a fully fledged environment, as you can see at the bottom. I've just added on the sheet, you could see some of the connectivity, the value add products that we have, the voice services where most of you guys are known from and using with us. The hosting services, as you can see, there's a few ones listed there. And the technical services, which is a big one, we pride ourselves in that, based in the caliber of support we deliver and the solutions that we also put. We try and put our emphasis on solutions that can be sustainable and that can push the boundary lines around evolving our product set. If there's no other questions, that's ICTGlobe. And the power of ICTGlobe with Vodia is in the fact that how Vodia operates and offers the service as Teams integration. It is a localized environment. It's not an offshore or a portal sitting offshore. All the equipment sits in ICTGlobe's environment, which means that your traffic is local, which means that your latency implications are low. And it's also, if you're doing connectivity with us over a layer 2 environment, there are better management that we can actually offer you. I don't know if there's any questions. If anyone wants to pose questions, Jared, are there any in the chat?
If there are any questions as of yet. So I think we're good. Kyle, if you want to jump on and just introduce yourself and you go over a couple of things.
Thank you, Lucian, and thank you, Jared. Guys, welcome. I really appreciate you guys joining us today. My name is Kyle. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Vodia. Again, we're really excited to have you guys here today and to talk a little bit about Teams and why the ICT Vodia makes so much sense. And I think that the overall success of Vodia and ICT is we share the same philosophy in that we'll never compete with you, and we empower our partners. So it's important that you realize the landscape has changed, and we're seeing the bigger players in the market really competing with their partners. Well, not so much partners. It's almost like you become a reseller. So the whole idea with the strategy behind Vodia and ICT is that you become your own provider and sell your services to your customers and retain control of your customer base. And I think, especially with the Teams allows you so many advantages in terms of using your trunks, ICT's trunks, rather than the expensive Microsoft trunks. And I'll let Hamlet speak more into the advantages of the integration. But I just wanted to share with you that, as far as support, Lucian touched on that, the abundance of support that ICT offers. Again, we share that same methodology and philosophy that we are here to support you from the very jump all the way to migration and deployment. So you can always reach out to us as well. And I encourage you, after the overview today, that you reach out to Lucian's team to acquire a demo key. So this will help you get started. It's fully featured with the collaboration integration as well. So without further ado, I want to kick this off to Hamlet. He's going to go over the team setup. And again, as Jared mentioned in the beginning, we're going to be doing a second session to really dive in a little bit deeper, take a deeper dive into the integration itself. I think today is more of an overview of the methodology. So without further ado, I'd like to hand this over to Hamlet, our senior engineer. He's going to be going over the training. And again, I want to thank you guys again, and make sure that you guys leave me a bribe. If you guys, I tell all the guys here that if you think you know barbecue, you haven't had anything yet until you go to South Africa to have a braai. So Hamlet knows what I'm talking about.
Jared, I'm not sure if we've got any questions there. I've just seen one, and yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Hi and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Hamlet Collado, product specialist here at Vodia Networks. We'll be talking about some exciting new opportunities for you to leverage the Vodia Teams integration. Let's go over the agenda. We're going to talk about the benefits of Teams in Vodia, the prerequisites, setting up Vodia in Teams. Now, just to be clear, this will be just an overview of how both technologies work together. Our next series will show a live implementation of the Vodia Teams integration solution. Okay, so cost saving. Deploying a new solution like Vodia PBX phone system with Teams is already a cost-saving solution because not all team members need a voice route when using its platform. Microsoft Direct Routing is a team add-on for voice, so it makes it possible to connect to Vodia and vice versa with its already existing session border controller. Vodia PBX SIP trunking templates has all of the popular SIP trunks provider. You can mix and match them via the DAO plan. DAO plan on the PBX can be global on the system, which means you can share inbound and outbound termination to many Teams tenants on the system. Ring groups and call queues on the Vodia PBX can also be paired with a Vodia Teams extension. This means you can mix and match the Vodia Teams extensions to a number of ring groups. The Vodia Teams account is already SIP enabled, which means you can connect various devices to the Vodia Teams extensions for a unique deployment. So Teams and Vodia prerequisites. When deploying MS Teams for a customer, you will need a FQDN, preferably one you already own. If a customer already has one, then the fully qualified domain you will need to use for that implementation, which means you don't have to create one if the one's available. Now, the license in Microsoft 365 E5 or E3 is also needed to activate the voice functionality, which is how direct routing will be used to make the connection between Teams and the Vodia PBX. And just a note, E3 or E5 is used to turn Microsoft Teams voice functionality on Office 365 account. If you have an E license, then it is also possible to purchase a Microsoft 365 direct routing add-on voice package. E5 already has direct routing enabled, so there's nothing you need to purchase there. The Vodia multi-tenant license has the Teams interrupt account available and is used to connect to the Microsoft account that will be paired with a Vodia extension. It is important also to have a FQDN for the Teams deployment so it can be reachable. And what I mean by that you need a FQDN for the PBX as well. Vodia preparation for Microsoft Teams. Just a keynote, Microsoft has improved the way Teams is integrated and has added some of its steps in the Team web portal instead of using the PowerShell. It is required to create a domain name with your Office 365 account to associate users within your organization. Another important step is to create users for the organization and assign an E3 or E5 license that supports direct routing. Next, you will need to create a PSTN gateway that connects to the Vodia PBX. This will be the FQDN that belongs to the PBX. This step is now available in Teams admin web portal and can be configured there. So this is kind of an overview. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Teams administration portal. So just to be clear, you will need to create a FQDN before you do anything in Teams. So the process will create a domain for Teams organization. Make sure the domain you add on the FQDN is owned by you or the customer. Microsoft will verify the domain name by using a text value for your DNS, in which you will copy paste to your domain provider for verification. Once it has been verified, the domain will be ready for usage. And when you create your domain here, these steps will be, all you have to do is just follow the steps. Will tell you that they give you MX and text value that you need to send to your DNS provider just for verification. This is all it's doing here. Another note, Let's Encrypt Certificate. When deploying the Vodia PBX to work with Teams, you will need a secure connection from the PBX. Luckily, Vodia creates a secure certificate for the PBX, which is one of the prerequisites. In order for Vodia to create a secure certificate, you will need to open port 80 and port 443. This can be done on the firewall for inbound traffic if it's being hosted. Creating a DNS record for your PBX. First, you need to create a DNS entry, whether it be GoDaddy or any DNS provider. You need to create an A record for your domain. So when you create an A record that points to the Vodia IP address, create your newly created DNS name on the Vodia PBX under tenant. Next, check if the domain is resolvable and that there are no errors. This is an important part because you're going to need your tenant to be resolvable, because we will create a connection between Teams and Vodia. So without a fully qualified domain, there's no way the interrupt will work correctly. So creating a Teams trunk on Vodia. When creating a Teams trunk with Vodia, it's already built in the system and it's easy to create. As you can see, when you go to your SIP trunks, you can choose Teams. There's nothing you need to configure there. Everything is already set up for you. And that's it. The Teams trunk on the Vodia is already pre-configured. We also create a DAO plan automatically when the Teams trunk is created. Next, we'll talk about creating a direct routing. Creating the direct routing can be done on the Teams user UI portal. To start, navigate to voice settings and choose direct routing. As you can see here, all you have to do is go into direct routing to create. The first step would be to enter your FQDN or PBX FQDN. Create it in the step above. Enter the FQDN. Enable the SBC connection to Vodia. Every other settings can be left as default, and then save the configuration. One thing I do want to note, under the SBC setting, the SIP signaling here says 5067, should be 5061. Okay, so creating a voice route. So Microsoft Phone System has a routing mechanism that allows a call to be sent to the Vodia PBX. For this, you will need to create a voice route, in where you have to define a DAO plan and choose a SBC, the SBC for Vodia PBX. To do that, just click on voice route and click on add and give it a name. Description is optional. You can choose priority 1. If the team has already been set up, you can then decide which route policy will take precedence. The DAO number pattern, here's where we will provide you with a DAO number pattern you can use. For example, you see that I have a value of 4, which means that my extensions on my PBX is a 4-digit extension. So we want to tell the route that when dialing out to go through this DAO plan, or for them it's called dial number pattern, and it will go to that route, and from that route it will go to the SBC and then Vodia. So again, the dial number pattern is based on the account number on the PBX. If there are 4 digits or 3 digits, you can adjust it accordingly. The next step, we will add the SBC connection, which we have created in the previous step. So here you make a linkage. Lastly, we'll need to create a PSTN usage record. This will be used to link to a policy, which will be used to link to a Teams user. So click on add and create, and make sure it saves and just press apply. Excuse me. All right, so connecting to Office 365, you will need a PowerShell connection to Skype for Business, creating a PSTN gateway, and enabling the user for direct routing. So one of the most last steps would be creating or enabling the user to use direct routing. Creating a PSTN gateway, we've already done that. That's already available on the Teams GUI. And doesn't need to be set up on the PowerShell, which is great for everyone. So the idea of creating the PSTN gateway is that it will connect to the Vodia PBX using the FQDN, which we mentioned above. And on PowerShell, we will be enabling the user to use the direct routing to make it possible for the Microsoft user account to make and receive calls from the Vodia PBX phone system. Unfortunately, this step has not been done in the PowerShell. And we hope in the future it will be, and it'll be much easier afterwards, and there will be no PowerShell available to use after that. So let's hope that happens. Next, we'll talk about voice routing policy. Voice policies will be linked to a PSTS usage. Policies will be linked to the team user. Next, all you have to do is click on voice routing policy, add a name for your voice routing policy, then proceed to add a PSTN usage. Choose a PSTN usage record, which was created in our previous step. So just the gist of it, all we're doing here is creating a voice policy. Okay, the voice policy will be linked to the SBC connection, which is Vodia, and we have to make this linkage available. Then here where it says PSTN usage record, you can either create a usage, and it's just a name. All it is just a name. So you can add it, or if you have a usage already, you can choose that usage. So creating a user on Microsoft Team, you will need to create a user and assign an E5 license to the account. In the email section on the account creation, make sure you use the domain name created for the organization. For example, if the domain created was getvodia.com, then the user's name would be hc@getvodia.com. This will be done for all accounts that are part of the domain name organization. It's very important because the PowerShell, you're going to need to invoke a user and activate that user to use the voice policy. So this part is pretty easy. All you have to do is just make sure you assign a license to the account for it to use the voice policy that we will talk about later. Okay, next we're going to talk about creating a Vodia Teams extension. Navigate on the Vodia PBX, navigate to your tenant and click Account, then Extensions. Click on the Add button. Under Account Number, type an extension number for the account. Just to be clear, this extension will also be used on the Microsoft Team as a number for the Teams user. We're basically creating an extension here that would be mapped to the Teams user. Okay, and it will be the same extension. Click Create to finish the extension creation. Navigate to your newly created extension. It means you have to, once you create it, you have to go back in. And under Extension Feature Type, choose Teams. Once you have done that, save. Then the Vodia Teams extension will be the same extension that will be created. So this will make it so that both team user can call into the Vodia PBX, call any extension on the PBX, receive and make inbound, outbound calls. So using PowerShell to connect to the Office 365. What we're really doing is connecting to Skype for Business. That's the engine that runs everything for Teams. When connecting, it is important that whoever is the administrator, or if you have been assigned to be an administrator, you will need the credentials. As you can see, the pop-up here. You have to enter the credentials to make the changes you want. So as you can see here, I have a PowerShell script. This is also available in our documentation. All you have to do is open a PowerShell, copy paste this into the PowerShell, and you'll have a prompt to request the PowerShell credentials to go into Skype for Business. Once that is done, you will be able then to go forward and create the voice policy for the user. So once you're logged into Skype for Business, you can enable a user in an organization to use direct routing services. You will also be able to create a TEL number. The TEL number is, again, the extension created on Vodia. The TEL number will be the same extension as in Vodia, which has to be assigned to the Teams account. The TEL number is just the same account, as I mentioned. We will need to check and get the identity of the team user and see if the user is part of the LFL register pool as shown above. This is just to verify that the user actually exists on the system, and you can enter that PowerShell command. Also, this is also available in the documentation, Teams documentation on the Vodia site. So enable the user for direct routing service. We will activate and assign a telephone number for the team user. This is a very important step. Please make sure that the extension of the Vodia PBX is also created. I can't stress it anymore. Without that, it will not work. The notice here, I have TEL 4002. It's a 4-digit number. This number acts as an extension for Teams. Okay. So this basically will be the example. This will be below is what you want to follow. Set user identity, which is John Smith or the user. And here we're just assigning a TEL number and activating the enterprise voice enabled for that user. So next, we will assign a voice policy for the Teams account. This is great because it's already available on the Teams GUI. And as you can see, I have already lined out the steps for you. This portion can be done. This will make it so that the user can make outbound calls by using the route which is connected to the Vodia SBC. This is the last step that needs to be done. The team user will be able to make calls to the Vodia PBX and make outbound calls and receive them as well. To do this, navigate to the user in Teams. Choose a user you would like to link the policy to. Click on Policy under the user, and edit the user policy box will appear. This will be this here. Edit user policy. Scroll down to voice routing policy and choose the policy that is linked to the session border connection to Teams. Once the policy has been linked, it will roughly take about 1 to 2 hours to get propagated. Sometimes it will be less, but this is basically how the interop between Vodia and Teams is done. Most of it is already done on the Vodia PBX, and then most of it has to be done on Teams. Obviously, as things improve and they add more functionality in their GUI, then it'll be much easier for everyone. So here's an overview of how Vodia and Teams look like at a glance. As you can see on the left-hand side, we have Vodia PBX. We have the pbx.company.com, which is the FQDN we talked about. The extension we created, 4001, and the type is Teams, which is mapped to a user in Teams, abc@company.com. Then creating the Teams trunk, which we spoke about in the last slide. We create the trunk in Vodia, and then we create the PSTN gateway to Vodia. So from all I've spoke about, this is all we had to do. It's a little bit tedious at some point, but once it's demystified, then you soon understand how everything works. Again, thank you for joining me today. I hope this will help you understand Teams and the origin, how everything works with Vodia. If you have any questions, you can reach out to support. If you want to open tickets, you can go to vodia@zaman.com. Again, our documentation is available for you. If you need any onboarding or support with Teams, and also ICT is there to assist too. And that's all I have for you guys. If you have any questions in the chat box, I'll gladly answer what I can. And thank you.